Now, obviously, explain to people, man, about pigeonholing, because obviously people don't know the site.
Yeah, so authors sign up, they have to pay, I don't know how much, because they wouldn't tell me how much when I applied for it, which is worrying, really.
Do you think in your case, they saw your book and laughed at it?
They said how much money have you got and we'll decide how much you have to pay, which was a bit worrying.
It's a bit that, isn't it? Yeah. It's a bit just because you tell them 50 pence.
Yeah, then I've heard back, strangely enough. Reading in Bed
is a book review podcast ran by
Amanda Steele
and Andy N. It can be found at readinginbed.bandcamp.com,
iTunes, Stitcher and
Spotify, among many others. Enjoy.
He lurked in the shadows, waiting and hoping she wouldn't take a different route. This was her usual room. He knew that. He knew her.
Ghost of Me, the new book by Amanda Steele, can be found at Amazon, Kobo, Waterstones, and many, many other places. Hi guys, it's Andy N. Thanks today for downloading or streaming yet another episode of Spoken Label. As you may or may not be aware, Spoken Label was started in the beginning of 2006, and currently we have well over 150 sessions recorded since then. Although you can find it on various networks, the full archive is available for streaming and downloading at Spoken Label bandcamp.com. It is a free download or free streaming there, but obviously if you feel like chucking me a few pennies that way, it would be eternally grateful to help me keep this podcast going and keep improving my equipment, etc. Enjoy. Speak to you soon. Bye bye. Spoken Label. Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back on Skype again tonight. Back across the seas again today to Ireland as well, and I've just been talking to the lady we're talking to today, and it turns out I met her originally 10 years ago, and I don't know where the years have gone, so no, she was a fantastic writer anyway. So Órla, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody, tell them who you are and where you're living and where your writing originally came from?
Hi Andy, it's great to talk to you again, and indeed we did meet about 10 years ago in Dublin through a mutual friend, Connor. I'm from County Meath in Ireland, and I'm a poet mainly, though I do write some short stories and I'm working on a novel as well. I'm a member of Boyne Writers Group and I edit their magazine Boyne Berries. I'm working towards my first collection of poetry, which has been accepted by Salmon in the west of Ireland and will be published in the spring of 2023.
Oh, which is great news for you, because you deserve it. There you
Yeah.
go. Like I said, when I first came across your work, about, blimey, a long time ago. I said it was before we met, because our mutual friend Connor sent me over some of your work to have a look at, and I said to him, it's brilliant. It's absolutely, I thought you were brilliant then. So have you been writing, because obviously you've been writing since you were a child, and have you really, or did it come along later?
I have really, because I first got into it in primary school. Although I always read, my mum was a great reader and she taught me a great respect for poetry and novels and film. But when we were in primary school, we did have a teacher and he used to get us to do creative writing, and he actually introduced us to poetry when we were about 10 or 11.
Perfect age.
Which is quite great, yeah.
And do you look back at your work, and can you see, even your younger age like that, can you see the way your work's progressed naturally over the years, can you, or has it just changed a lot, do you think, over time?
Well, sometimes I did tend to keep a record of all my work, although there's one poem I'd love to find, and it's probably my first poem, and maybe it's in the attic, but I can't find this, but I can kind of remember it. But over the years, I look back, and you know the way it's like journaling or writing a diary, and you kind of track your life or where you've grown from, and sometimes it's cringeworthy, and you're like, oh, I feel a bit embarrassed by
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
completely. I've got
yeah,
did I ever tell you what I do with my poetry? I'm digressing slightly, but you'll find it interesting. Is
yeah,
first poem I wrote when I was 10, and I'm 48 or 40, nearly 48 now, and
yeah,
I managed to get every one into a little hardback A5 book, and I've got,
yes.
would you believe, I've got 55 of them complete filled up now.
Wow,
And
that's amazing,
it's when I go back for them sometimes,
Feisty.
it's cringing sometimes.
Yes, but isn't it lovely to look back over your life or over your interior life and just like recognize how you felt and how much you've grown to.
Yeah, completely. Now, so you said already you're involved in a poetry group, is it, or an organisation, aren't you, in Ireland? Do you want to
Yes.
tell people a bit more about that group and out of interest? So,
Yeah, that's I joined the Boyne Writers Group in I think it was about 2007. I saw a submission call in the local paper, and I sent a poem in to their magazine, and it was accepted by the editor at the time, who was Michael Farry. And I was encouraged then by friends to join the group. I would have been quite shy and not used to speaking in public, and it was a big step for me to take to join the group. But we've been going ever since, and I've never looked back. I used to be on the editorial board of the magazine, and I've been the editor since I think 2015.
wow,
So we're up to our 27th issue now.
wow, it's fantastic
Yeah,
that. Yeah, because
yeah,
I help Amanda out, the partner, obviously, so with her magazine, Printed Words, I'm on the editorial team for that. But I've done editorial work
yes.
myself in magazines, and do you think I think you get a lot from it, don't you? When you're looking at other people's work and stuff, and you see how they.
Oh, massively, massively, and you grow a lot. And anyway, the more you read, the more you know, and the more knowledge you have. And if you're an intelligent person, you can take that on. Obviously, it'll develop your own depth of perception and awareness, and it'll make you a better writer, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. Did you find when you were growing up, and as you are now, as obviously an adult,
Hmm.
you said you're a big reader. Was there any sort of writers or poets that really stood out to you, like, that you've stayed favourites with over the years?
Well, when I was younger, I just loved all the children's books, obviously. But in my teenage years, I loved. I suppose I loved Keats, especially John Keats and Sylvia Plath.
Oh yeah, completely.
Um, Irish writers, I did. I suppose like Keane and Yeats and the typical, what you're introduced to, your palette. But as I grew older, then I suppose I've so many different writers I admire. It's hard to narrow it down, and I always keep my eye out for contemporary writers now too.
Yeah, I mean, the same for me as well, because I'm just a firm believer in writing, like you said, because there's so many writers nowadays. With the internet being so big like it is, that you can always
Yes,
find new
massive, yeah,
writers to catch up on, can't you, and get into and stuff. Yeah, and
yeah.
I've got an Amazon Fire next to me at the moment, and I've got about 200 poetry books on it. So I
Yeah,
know.
I know, it's incredible the amount of work that's out there. So I think that then the internet has made it a more level playing field.
Yeah,
And whereas there used to be an elite or a patriarchy, I think that the internet and being so connected with everyone has brought it down to everyone's level,
yeah, no, I
which is
agree.
a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. So, okay, back to your work anyway. So, if people obviously are not aware of your work, do you
Hmm.
have any sort of recurring themes that crop up a lot in your work?
Oh, good question. I think definitely nature. I have a deep appreciation for
Yeah,
nature
I can
because I
say that.
grew up on a farm, and then I suppose in my own interior issues, what else? I suppose what's going on in the world, beauty, truth. I always try to get to the nut or the kernel of what I'm feeling, and I suppose that drives my work.
Yeah, I can see it with a lot of your work. 'Cause your work is very naturalistic straight away every time I read it, and every time, like for my example, because I follow you on Facebook, every time I see you've got something published, and you do get a lot published because your work's that good. Like I always make sure I spend a couple of minutes reading what you've had published and stuff, and which is fair play to you. So, do you find like? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. I'm also very influenced by culture. So, I mean, things I read or art or music, they influence me deeply too. Yeah.
No, you can tell that, so it's a good sign. On your actual writing pattern itself, then, do you find like are you quite a regular writer, or is it just when you get time sometimes because of the day job and life in general?
It depends. I have signed up to a few writing challenges in the last couple of years, and I find it's been very beneficial. I did. I know there's a writer, Angela Carr, and she does a blog called The Dreaming Skin, and she created a few like monthly challenges in January, April, and the summer, where it was a 30-day writing challenge. So you had to produce something every day, and I found that was great. Like she gave us a prompt, but it was up to yourself what you did with it. So I found that very good. Apart from that, I'm maybe sporadic. It's whenever I feel moved by something, or I need to get something off my chest, I sit down. So although it just depends, I could write maybe 3 poems a day. So I don't know if that helps, but I mean,
of course.
If you have a structure, obviously you need to sit down and write. Whereas I deeply admire people who write novels. They are real grafters. You know, you have
incredible, absolutely incredible. People do novels like that. I don't know. I respect people who do it because Amanda, my other half, she's done about half a dozen novels now, and I don't know how she does it.
I don't. It's very hard. It's very hard to be disciplined.
Yeah. Now I know you said before you're doing your own novel at the moment, aren't you? So how are you finding the discipline of that then, in contrast to your poetry?
I find that if I am writing fiction, my poetry goes under. So I can't really write poetry if I'm writing fiction because I have to be disciplined, and I try to write about 500 words a day. So it depends how much I want to be committed to it.
Yeah, of course, I get you completely. That's why I've never completed a novel. I might do 20,000 words and give up.
No, that's very true, but it's definitely something I want to finish. I find if I do start something, I'll finish it. And also, if you're writing poetry, I find even if you're working and you're going about your daily business, and you have to be a little bit detached from everyone, and I don't think people always get that. They don't get that about writers. You have to be kind of in your own, you have this outer life, but you also have this interior life. And that's why I find as well, if you're a writer, it's very hard to have deep relationships with people, because you have to maintain that kind of level of detachment. You're all involved. Yeah. No,
I agree with you. It's unusual really, because obviously I'm dating a fellow writer myself, and with that is we tend to
that's good. You can probably support each other.
We tend to bounce a lot off each other, and what tends to happen in the pair of us is as soon as one of us starts another project, the other one tends to get involved in one way or another. So, but it goes that way. So, indeed. Now,
it's great to have that support.
It's excellent. I do recommend it as well. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about today as well. You told me about on Facebook the other day about the Trim Poetry Festival.
Yes.
And Boyne Berries?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, this year it was cancelled due to, as we all know, what's going on in the world with the coronavirus. But the Trim Poetry Festival this is just the second year, but Boyne Berries has been established since 2006. Yeah, so I think we talked about that a little bit about that earlier on. That we're up to the 27th issue now.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, of course, Boyne Berries. So 27th issue now. Yeah, and I said it was it's just unfortunate about the Trim Poetry Festival. Obviously, the way society is going at the moment, because there's quite a lot being cancelled in Manchester recently on big events like that, and it's upsetting, John. that's for sure with it.
It is, yeah. It's quite scary now at the moment, but what can you do? You have to just, obviously everyone's welfare is the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Just people got to look after themselves. So, like I said, I can carry on. Some like doing spoken label on Skype, like yourself, is fairly straightforward. So it's like we can't infect each other, can we? So that way, that's why. But
I seen something yesterday in the paper about the internet and what a great service it is to people in these times. But somebody said that people used to look like at the internet that it was a luxury, but it's not actually. It's a utility, and it's something that everyone can use. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So no, definitely. Now, obviously, all been well in the world. Then, where would you think your work's going to go next? Then, do you have any sort of plans for the future?
Just to keep writing. For me, it's always about the act of the writing and the connection I have. I find it's quite a spiritual connection when I do create something new, and it's when I'm most happiest. And I just feel very happy when I'm making something or writing something new. Realistically, well, I do have my poetry collection coming out, so that was a great boon for me and something to look forward to.
Yes, well, it's well done again with that. Obviously, with it being a little while away, we can't ask you for too much details on it yet, but certainly in a couple of years' time, I'll make sure we talk again, so that way we can talk directly about your your collection when it comes out. Certainly. Now, if people want to find out more about you, Órla, where are they best going?
Sorry,
to conclude, if people want to find out more about you, where are they best going?
Okay, so you can email me at orla.a.fay@gmail.com, and I also have Twitter at FayOrla, and my blogspot is orlafay.blogspot.com, which I've been writing my blog as well for about 10 years, so it's a great record of my endeavours in the literary world.
Brilliant. I'll get you to send those links over to me as well, so I can put them on the write-up afterwards as well. So now,
Great.
I know you're going to do some poems for us next. So what we'll do is we'll pause the recording, and then we'll come back in a minute to everybody. You're going to read out a couple of poems for us. So hang around, everybody. Thank you again, Órla. It's been brilliant today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much.
See you all in a minute, guys.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. We're still in with Órla, so straight over to you, my friend. And I know you're going to do 4 poems for us today.
Thanks, Andy. So this first poem was written for New Year's Day and the start of a new decade. I'd gone for a walk on the 30th of December, and seeing a woman in the distance in a red coat, I imagined she was a representation of the future. And this was the seed of the poem. And the poem takes its title from Salvador Dali's painting, The Persistence of Memory. The persistence of time. I wonder if she is more a future figure than a past. This lady of the year, in a red coat, festive, stepping around the corner that stretches to a decade-long length of road. It is only when she is out of view that I wonder. I do remember when the 80s became the 90s, all that revolution, and when the 90s turned millennium. 2009 was an ice cube in the Harvey wallbanger of the 2010s. It is only when she is out of view that I wonder. This late afternoon could be an abstract of time. Its dreary sky combined with misting rain makes tree clocks, dull, surreal faces spin about bare branch tops. It is only when she is out of view that I wonder. The big hand spire of the church takes me back to Christmas morning. The sleepy mass, hymns dreamlike, the intoxication of cloying incense. It is only when she is out of view that I wonder. Now I have the present and a different communion. Those walking whose spirits flicker like candle flames in the oppressiveness of the day with chance of greeting. A happy new year to you. The religiosity of life lays itself down for my attention. A path both worn and unworn unknown. Salvador Dali, musing, strokes his giant moustache before me. When she is out of sight, it is troubling to consider that the past is the future in a rear view mirror.
Brilliant, brilliant. I know the painting you're on about there, so that's a great start, that. Thank you. Okay, are you ready for your second piece?
Yeah, ready to go.
Rock and roll then, go for it.
I wrote this next poem on the Microsoft Word app on my phone while I was walking on the morning of November the 1st, and I'd been listening to the novel Girl, Woman, Other on Audible for Kindle, and having woken up early, I was determined to write something new. The poem was subsequently highly commended in the Francis Ledwidge Poetry Award last December.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Word for Mobile, or a Sisyphean Task. As I pass a cauldron of leaf-filled puddles, splatters of heavy raindrops from trees create muddy browns, rivulets and roads. Wiping my rain-packed glasses with tissue, the sleeve of my shirt, post-firework, post-puka procession, post-trick-or-treat is my post-modern morning, in which I cursed myself for not taking an umbrella on the stroll through the deserted village, tagging Oliver #Goldsmith. On a reap field sits a two-story of straw. The mist lessens, perhaps the brolly was not necessary after all. Quiet prufrock. Breakfast hovers like a mirage in the distance, steaming coffee, eggs poaching, simmering with salt, maybe sausage grilled. Please just don't think of pork, we have vegan options. The gunshot pops. Or is it a leftover banger? Has hunting season started? Postscript, cock pheasant can be shot from November 1st. What I began writing was dreamlike, caught as the dawn is. Now I am more consciously myself, stripped in the walk, present. This Samsung Galaxy screen sparkles with a glitter of moisture, and I will be two poems richer, tapping out thoughts. A Rottweiler and a boxer kick up a fuss, their fence beaded by a downpour of pearls. Soon the tree I love appears, that holds itself like a dancer, poised, elegant. Reminds me of the physical body, the slimmer body that I strive to achieve, the goal corporeal, a stereotype, a societal norm, who cares? Why I joined Weight Watchers. I'm often accompanied by Girl, Woman, Other on Audible, The Joint, Booker Prize winner, Love It, the interlaced stories of marginalised women by Bernadine Evaristo. Ashwood is still a queen. Now where was I? Ah yes, breakfast soon. As soon as I change these wet socks and shoes. At the top of the hill I click share, email myself this document, to download, to edit later, formulate lastly, that if a poem is a prison, then I am a prisoner, constantly breaking free.
I like that because it's you can tell that one there is they covered a lot of thoughts on that, and that's sort of thing I do when I'm walking sometimes.
Yeah,
when you end up like lots of thoughts building up in your head straight of all kinds of directions. No, yeah. I can see why you got that award there for that prize. Definitely the condemnation. You know what I'm about, right? But excellent. Okay, what's the third piece you've got in mind for us?
So this is a coming of age poem, and it was shortlisted for last year's Bailey Borough Poetry Prize here in Ireland.
Oh, well done again.
And the Bailey Borough Poetry Prize. Yeah. And it takes its title from Carson McCullers' novel The Member of the Wedding, and I'm recalling the summer of 1995. The Member of the Wedding. When I think of dog days, I remember Frankie Adams, F. Jasmine Adams, lost and struggling in the novel. I see her roaming the streets of the south, hair slicked back and clothes clinging to her in sweat. She longs to go to Alaska. We studied Carson McCullers' novel along with The Hobbit and To Kill a Mockingbird for our junior cert. I related to Frankie's awkwardness, the way she longed to fit in. I think our teacher was showing us that it was okay to be different, that feeling was something we could do. She told us to underline Atticus Finch's words to Scout about walking around in someone else's skin, to consider things from another's point of view. I had nothing to do on the summer holidays, so I bought the Lord of the Rings trilogy in one huge volume, the Bible my brother and I christened it. The cover was green, a majestic Gandalf portrayed holding his staff in the woods. We named the kittens that appeared from the hay barn Frodo and Sam. At night we lit a campfire and trailed across the fields with a torch and makeshift wooden weapons. We stayed out for as long as we could until startled by distant barking or a frightening rustle, or until the stars were too bright, too close, too silver. I was allowed to take the bus to O'Connell Street, arranged to meet friends under the clock at Eason's. I wore combat trousers, smoked a Marlboro, felt dizzy afterwards.
Oh, that's got a good ending, that one there. You're about smoking it, then he's feeling dizzy at the end of it, and I thought, yeah, he just takes you out of it. Excellent. I like that. Good. Very clever, very clever.
Thanks.
Okay. I want to concluding piece now, aren't we? Well.
Yeah, on to the last one. So, this poem was shortlisted for the Court International Prize last year, and it's about cowboys and Indians. And of course, when I was young, my dad always played the movies of cowboys and Indians, but I always wanted to be the Indian.
Hey.
This is called How the West is Won. The cowboy looked like the Lone Ranger, Billy the Kid, or Wyatt Earp. Shiny badge pinned to brown suede waistcoat, black Stetson pointed tip down as he flung away a cigar. Everyone wanted to be like him. On his left hip, a holster from which he pulled a silver heavy Colt Peacemaker, the Colt 45, the gun that won the West. What hope did my Sioux friend have, his long raven hair blowing on the prairie? He carried a tomahawk on his belt, a bow and arrow slung across his back. He wore feathers in his hair, ate hunted buffalo, and wore buffalo hide in winter. The wolf ran with him under the full moon. The fish in the streams came to the softness of his hands.
Brilliant. Now, I grew up with westerns a lot from my father as well, because I was growing up. We used to play, made me read the books as well, he did, my dad, so, and as well as watch the films, so I can well relate to that. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
It's been a great way to finish the session off. So hang around, Órla. I need a quick word of your mic, but I have really enjoyed today. So, and I knew it would be a good session, and it has been. So, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Speak to you all soon, guys. Take care.
Spoken, mate.